can easily tell that this is bone, right? Compact bone. So in the next exam, you will not say simply bone, you will say compact bone. And this compact bone, the structures you need to know. First of all, you need to know what is this part here, central canal or eversion canal. And this whole thing is osteon. And around each central canal, what are these rings called? Rings are called lamellae. Lamellae. And between the lamellae, you have lacunae. You see this lacunae here, right? And in real bone, they contain osteocyte. And you see these lines here, dark lines here. These are actually fine canals called as canaliculi. Canaliculi to connect cells together. Next slide is spongy bone. In the spongy bone, you will see spaces, right? And what are the structures called which separate the spaces? Trabeculae. You see these trabeculae here? Right? You see the spaces here, which are filled up with red bone marrow. And what are these things called? These are called as? No, this is not cartilage. This is bone. Spongy bone. What do you call this part here? Trabecular. This is a trabecular, right? We separate these spaces. And spaces are not empty. Spaces contain red bone marrow. They are the ones which make the blood. To make blood, red bone marrow. And you can see what kind of cell is this? What kind of cell? Osteocyte. Osteocyte. Any question on this thing here? The structure you need to identify basically here is the spaces which contain red bone marrow and the trabeculae, which is actually bone material. Next slide. Now we focus more on the bone marrow. This slide says bone marrow. In this bone marrow, this is the part I was showing you earlier, right? Spaces in bone marrow. And in this bone marrow, you need to identify first that this is bone marrow. This is red bone marrow. Okay. First you have to identify this part. Then you have to identify 3 different cells. And those cells are, number 1. I think you should all know. What do you call these cells? These cells are fat cells, adipose cells. Adipose cells or fat cells, right? Number 2, there are some cells which are really big, with a big nucleus. And do you see any cell with a big nucleus? See this cell here? You see that? These cells are, see this one here? These cells are special. The name is, you should know, mega means big, right? Karyocyte. Karyo. Karyo means nucleus, big nucleus. Mega karyocyte. What they do, they make platelets. They make platelets, blood platelets. The other cell types, you see many cells here. Let me go to high magnification. See megakaryocyte here, the big one? So all these cell types here, the different stages of formation of red blood cells and white blood cells. So you can just call them immature blood cells. Just call them immature blood cells. You can identify whether it is which stage of white blood cell, right? Which stage of red blood cell formation. Just call them immature blood cells. Or the small one. So easy to identify is fat cell. Easy to identify the big one is megakaryocyte, and all others just call them as immature blood cells. Now what is this slide? Bone marrow. Which bone marrow? Red marrow. Okay, so you can study this model and study this material and complete your lab report. You complete all the parts.